Senators, politicians, drag queens? Well, I've interviewed them all. However, today is very special. My first member of a royal family, and a very special member of a royal family indeed. The only openly gay royal in the world, His Royal Highness, Prince Manvendra of India. Welcome.
Thank you.
You know, I wouldn't be doing my job for all of our viewers if I didn't ask you, what does one call you? How does one address you?
Well, there are different ways of addressing me. The title which I have been born with is called Yuvraj in Indian language, which means the Crown Prince. So you could call me Prince, you could call me by my name. I'm fine with anything.
Right. Now, your father is currently a Maharaja.
Yes.
So it would be, for those of us who have studied and understood English royal history, you would be like the Prince of Wales of your area of India.
Correct. Yes.
What was it like growing up in a palace?
Growing up in the palace is not an easy task, because we are the custodians of this rich cultural heritage which has been passed on to us by our ancestors. But at the same time, I'm very proud to be born in this family because our dynasty is 650 years old, established in the 13th century, and I'm the 39th direct descendant since then. So there has been a lot of protocols, there's been norms, there have been restrictions on the grooming of the heir to the throne. So because after all, I'm supposed to be inheriting the cultural heritage and the legacy. So the whole grooming is done in a way. And I was, of course, raised by a nanny, a governess, to take care of my growing up as a child.
Right. And how many siblings do you have?
I have a younger sister.
Younger sister.
Yeah.
But at some point, you will become the Maharaja.
I guess so.
Well, and I guess that's where I don't want to say controversy, but I guess at some point it was, to get right to the meat of the matter. You've been on Oprah Winfrey, you've
Yes.
been on CNN, you've been on TV all over the world.
Right.
When you came out of the closet as a gay man over 10 years ago now,
Yes. Yeah.
it was big news in India.
Right.
What was that process? Why did you come out? And what did it do to your family and actually the whole concept of the royal family in India?
Yeah. See, there are a number of reasons. Number one, I myself was undergoing a lot of pressure because I was living a double life, trying to pretend I'm straight, but I would be gay from within. So I was not living an honest and truthful life, which is not me. You know, it is a life of a hypocrite. Secondly, I've been working for the gay community for several years before I came out, but I have noticed that this subject has not been discussed. It is still a taboo, and there's a lot of stigma and discrimination. So I thought my coming out would definitely open the Pandora's box for debates and discussions on a subject which was existing in our society, but has been subdued. Thirdly, there are so many misconceptions. I mean, for example, many people in India believe that a person from a high-class society can never be gay. You know?
And why is it?
Yeah.
Because because it can't happen, or just because societally it's not accepted?
Yeah, I mean, they consider that, being gay is like, something Western influence, and, that kind of, there are a lot of misconceptions. So I thought my coming out would kind of, show the world that, yes, if you are from a high society, you can also be gay, And of course, I've been working for HIV/AIDS for a long time, and it was definitely going to impact the HIV control in our India. So for the larger cause, I decided, let me make this sacrifice and face the consequences.
Now, for a lot of us who are gay in the quote-unquote Western world, in the United States, we always remember the first moment when we realized we were gay. For you, when did you realize you were gay?
I think for most of us, when we are at that stage of puberty where we are trying to explore our sexual self, whether you're straight or you're gay, that's the time you notice your behavior. And that's when I would say around the age of 12 or 13, that I kind of realized that I am attracted towards the same sex, but I didn't know that this behavior is called being gay. So it was just, I kind of observed, and I wasn't knowing, I would kind of sympathize with the girls. I would not like the boys teasing them. And at the same time, I had a lot of girlfriends. but not having a kind of a sexual attraction towards
so
them.
You didn't think maybe you were gay, you just thought you were a feminist.
Exactly. I mean, I kind of didn't understand why this kind of behavior. I was perhaps thinking it's just a growing up phase, and maybe after I become bigger, I would kind of be like anyone else whom I'm seeing around me. Right. So I was confused, kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, we've been speaking several times over the last few days. It's been a great deal of fun for me and my husband to spend time with you. You have talked about the relationship with your father and mother and also your nanny.
Yes.
And when you came out, it caused a real schism within the family. Talk about that, specifically the reaction from your father and your mother and also your nanny, who clearly you were very close to.
Well, my nanny wasn't living then when I came out. She passed away a couple of years back. But the first outcome of my coming out was that from my family side, if you ask, then my parents, both my mother and my father, they took out public notices in the newspapers and publicly disowned me from the royal family, and also publicly disinherited me from the ancestral property.
So it's not like, okay, hi, we're not happy with your gay. We're going to take out an ad and tell everyone in India we're not happy. And disinheriting you.
Yeah, and the reasons they mentioned is that I am involved in activities which is not acceptable by the society. They didn't never use the word gay or homosexual in their notice. But this was the reason which was mentioned.
When people would have seen those ads or those notices in the newspaper, would they have known that's what your parents were talking about, that it was about being gay or about being homosexual?
Yeah, because it was very obvious. It was just after my coming out that, I mean, the whole world read the news. So it was very obvious that these notices have come out as a consequence of my coming out.
And what year was that?
That was in 2006. I came out in March 2006, and these notices came out in June 2006.
Now, of course, leading up to that time, even though you knew you were gay from puberty, you did what your family and society expected of you. You got married because you were expected to produce an heir.
Yes.
But I guess to say it wasn't a happy marriage would be an understatement.
Yeah, it was, I think, the worst decision which I took in my life to get married to a girl who was extremely beautiful and talented and would have been a very good housewife if I would have been straight. But unfortunately, because I was gay, so I had no attraction towards her sexually. And I think for any girl to get married, even though she might have the most wealth she has, but the sexual satisfaction is very important. So it was my complete marriage was, I would call it, a disaster.
So it wasn't, I mean, and of course, if you're a member of a royal family, consummating the marriage is a big deal.
Yes, exactly.
So the marriage was never consummated, and that was the reason technically you used for a divorce, correct?
Yes. Legally in India, annulment of a marriage can be easily got if the marriage is not consummated. She went to the court and said, I'm a virgin. And I said, yes, I agree to that. So
and you knew.
I knew for sure. I mean, why should I lie? If she was a virgin, she was a virgin. So
right.
Because in India, not many women, or especially from the royal families, because we are conservative, sex before marriage doesn't happen.
Right. Now, at that point, were people whispering, well, it's really because the prince is gay?
They didn't kind of doubt it, because the fact was that I wasn't out to anyone, I wasn't open about my sexuality, and it was thought perhaps like there was no compatibility between the two of them, and it just kind of, got diluted over the period of time. So there was no doubt created by either parties about my sexuality.
Right. There's a common thought here in the United States that one's mother always knows if you're gay. Or, maybe your nanny knew, maybe your mother knew. But at this point, they still said, well, he didn't like that wife. They still wanted you to marry another woman, correct?
Yes. Because they obviously didn't know I was gay. And I mean, I also never knew, even after my marriage broke up, I wasn't sure why this happened, because, I myself was not clear. But they definitely wanted to see that I get married, because especially there was a stigma attached to this whole divorce happening, and they wanted to prove, because my ex-wife got married just within a year of getting divorced. So it was a reputation of the royal family that, I mean, if that girl could get married, then why can't the prince get married?
Right.
So that's also one of the reasons they wanted to prove that, there's nothing wrong with our son, because my ex-wife did make an allegation that the consummation of marriage did not happen because of impotency. So,
I mean, that, boy, insult to injury. It's
yes,
like, well, yes,
exactly.
gay and impotent.
Yes, there's always a misconception that the gay men are impotent. But I went and medically proved myself that I'm not impotent. So then what was it?
So, I mean, we've got just a few minutes left in this first segment, and then we're going to talk in the second segment about your work. But I think this is important for a lot of people, and a common experience of gay men, women, lesbians, bisexuals, members of the trans community, going through the motions of being someone that you're not, but having your family put pressure on you. And this pressure was almost deadly for you, wasn't it?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, a pressure for something which you don't want to be or don't want to do is definitely very stressful. Mentally, I would say it could lead to depression.
Well, in your case, it did. I mean, you actually, did you try to commit suicide, or you contemplated it?
I was trying to commit suicide because I was so deeply depressed that I said, I don't want to, I mean, continue with this life. You know, it's no use, because I didn't want to spoil the life of a girl, you know, which I had already tried. And my wife did tell me before she left that you tried to spoil my life. Please don't do it for another woman. You know. So
did she know at the time of your divorce? Had you come out to her secretly? Did she know you were gay, and were you worried that she might spill the beans?
I didn't come out to her, but I used to tell her that I'm kind of when we would watch some movies or some films together, I would say, oh, I like the male actor, you know. so in a way, like, but then she was also confused because I didn't have a boyfriend and I didn't have a girlfriend either. Yeah. So she was not aware of what's happening with my life, you know.
Right.
Yeah.
Last question before the break: are you still in touch with your ex-wife? Is she a friend?
No, I'm not in touch with her because I didn't want to interfere into her happily married life. I mean, though we are not in touch, but we are connected through relatives. And I know that she is settled down and with having her husband and her children. And I guess she's happy now with her, much happier with her second marriage now. So I just thought that, I mean, let her be on her own, and I'm sure she must be reading about me and seeing me on television.
Yeah, well, maybe she'll see this.
Yeah.
In our next half, we will come back with Prince Manvendra, talking about his work on behalf of the LGBTA community in India, working with people to educate about AIDS, HIV, and of course the question that everyone wants to hear, what's it like to meet Oprah? We'll be right back. Turning a childhood of privilege into work for the common good. That is all about our guest, Prince Manvendra of India. We're back with our conversation with His Highness. Now, everyone over the last few days has asked me what it's like meeting you, how are you? And then the other question that comes up is, for you, who have been called Oprah's favorite royal, what was it like meeting Oprah Winfrey? And what was that experience like? Because in a real sense, your appearances on Oprah made you the international celebrity that you are.
I mean, meeting Oprah was, of course, mind-blowing. It was the turning point of my life because after I came on her show, it changed the mindset of a lot of the homophobic society in India. And they got to accepting and supporting my work and my cause. And, of course, meeting her, I mean, she's an angel. And I got one of the best compliments I've ever got from anyone in my life from Oprah. When she met me and she told me that she's interviewed so many people around the world, but I've been the most truthful and honest person she has met.
Wow. You know, they say, not praise from Caesar, but praise from Oprah.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, I couldn't get a better compliment than that, I mean, from anyone so far, yes.
Now, you say that was a turning point in your life because it changed hearts and minds in India and also led to a great deal of celebrity.
Yeah.
Is Oprah popular in India? I mean, when people said, "Oh, the prince is on Oprah," did people know instantly who she was?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, there are a lot of Oprah fans in India. I mean, I would say in the rural parts, but because a lot of people have access to television and the media only in the urban cities and the English-speaking audience. But definitely, she is a popular person in India.
So her your appearance on her show has led to a great deal of publicity and attention for your work, and that's what I want to talk about.
Yeah.
Why are you here doing this tour? What are you promoting, and how is it impacting the lives of the LGBTA community in India?
So I am here on a mission. I started this campaign, The Freedom to Be Who You Are. And under this campaign, I'm building a LGBTQA center in my hometown in Rajpipla, in one of the royal establishments called Hanumenteshwar, which is a 15-acre area which was developed by my great-grandfather in 1927. And this center is going to be the first one of its kind in India, because I've been working for the LGBT community for a couple of years now, I mean almost 2 decades I can say, and I found that it's very necessary for having empowerment, because empowerment of an individual gives them the freedom, and that freedom gives them the independence to do what they want to do. And this center is going to have various facilities, like we'll have our learning center where we'll teach them skills, language skills, computer skills, train them for skills for earning their livelihood. We will have a music center for music therapy. Then we'll have a recreation, a multipurpose center for yoga, meditation, training programs, dances, music. We'll have a community kitchen. And at the same time, we'll have a medical center, you know, where we could treat. I mean, I'm already doing work on HIV, AIDS prevention and awareness amongst the homosexual population and the transgender population. And at the same time, we'll have some counseling there. And a lot of times it happens that a lot of our community people are stigmatized and they are thrown out of the families, because once they are out, they're not accepted. They are even thrown out of the workplaces. So my idea is to give them economic empowerment, so that they could be self-sustaining, they could be on their own, they could start their own livelihood. And financial independence will give them the chance not to succumb to marriage pressures and not get married to women like it's been happening in the past.
Well, and like it's happened to you.
Exactly.
Now, is this center something that's considered controversial in India? Because, I mean, you're here raising money for it. It's being built on the site of your great-grandfather's palace.
Yes.
Why isn't the government doing this?
See, government is interested in the HIV/AIDS part. I mean, they have been kind of helping us in the past couple of years with the project which I'm doing of HIV/AIDS prevention and awareness amongst we call it the MSM population. That's men having sex with men and the transgender. So they are only interested in that, or at the most for the HIV testing and treatment. But as regards a community center for the LGBT, because given the fact that we have not still got our rights.
Well, I was going to say, I mean, you know, it's a little complex, but my understanding is that being gay or performing homosexual acts was illegal, then it was legal, it's kind of legal. What is the status of legality for the LGBT community in India?
We have not been able to get the rights for when I say LGBT, then T have got the rights. That's the transgender.
So transgender community has more rights than LGB
exactly.
in India.
Yeah. Whereas we are still fighting for our rights, because there is a law in India which is targeting sexual acts, especially between men and men, but it also targets heterosexual acts as well. But it's seen as an anti-sodomy law, and we are fighting that matter. It's now reached the highest court of India, the Supreme Court. We have yet to hear the decision coming from there. But as of now, the gay population in India is still subject to stigma and discrimination, and a lot of education is need to be done to that.
Right. Do you think that this bias, this prejudice, whether it's legal or societal, is the legacy of the Raj? Is this because the British were in India for so well?
Exactly.
For so long?
Yeah. So see, if you ask me, homosexuality was part and parcel of Indian society since bygone era. We have the evidence from the Kama Sutra, which is the oldest sex encyclopedia written even 500 years before Jesus Christ was born.
Yeah, I mean, the Kama Sutra makes the joy of gay sex look like a kindergarten book.
Exactly. I mean. we have centuries-old temples which have homoerotic form of sculptures and statues, you know, which are showing oral sex and anal sex. We have got paintings. We have a lot of evidence in our. We have our mythology, which has got gay gods and lesbian goddesses. we have the transgender goddess, which is of lesbian origin, which is also the goddess of the Prime Minister of India.
Modi.
Yes.
Modi prays to a lesbian.
Modi prays to the goddess of lesbian origin, which is a transgender goddess. So with all this happening in our country, there's no way India has imported, we have rather exported homosexuality to different countries, I would say, you know.
I mean, I'm only laughing because I think this is something that a lot of Americans would have no concept of. And also, I think even maybe the transgender community in the United States is not aware of it. Talk to me a little bit about why the transgender community is treated better or experiences more rights than their brothers and sisters.
So transgenders in India has been a cult. It's basically, it's a very old tradition, they call the hijras, where they were treated as like saints. And as of now also they are saints, they're religious, the heads, they're leaders. They are meant to bless people. They've been given these powers that they can bless married couple, they bless the first male child born in a family. So there's again a very much paradox situation where the same community was not given their rights and their social entitlements. But because of the fact that the Hinduism is the predominant religion in our country, though we call it a secular state, but because its presence in the Hindu mythology, and more so ever, even if you talk about royal families, the transgenders were our royal guards in the royal courts because they protected us from men and women. You know, they were the ones who fought wars. We had them in the armies. So since they were already existing in our society, and they are a very visible population because they are always cross-dressed.
Right. So the transgender community are heroes and heroines in
India.
Exactly. We've only got about 30 seconds left. Is there some message that you would love to leave our viewers with? What would you like to leave as far as the impression of your visit?
I would like to end by saying that I believe in a very old Sanskrit saying which says Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, and which means the whole world is one family. So I've come here to connect India with America, to connect San Francisco to Mumbai and to my town Rajpipla, so that we come together and we unitedly fight for a cause which is common to all of us.
Thank you, Your Highness. It's been a great pleasure meeting you. Thank you so much. Very pleased to have had His Royal Highness Prince Manvendra of India on 10%. I hope you'll tune in next week. We'll be here on Comcast Hometown Network. Good night.